howdy ho. Welcome to the Brinx podcast. My name is Ryan McNeill.
Mikey Frieri.
And today we're coming at you with some hot takes. And not just any hot takes from the world of cinema. And as you know, animation is cinema.
Damn, I was going to say that as a joke.
Were you really?
Yes, fuck you, dude.
Live action animation, any and all movies we have seen that we just don't get the public perception about.
Yeah.
We're coming at you with unpopular opinions, you want to call them? Hot takes. But it's things we believe in.
Yes, yeah.
Would you like to start, Mikey?
Yeah, I'll start this off. Let me say this. Rather than saying, I think this movie's underrated, this movie's overrated, I got a comparison of two movies.
Okay.
I would take Monsters University over Monsters, Inc.
That is a hot take. I really, really like Monsters U.
So
I love that movie. But to take it over Inc., that's bold. What's your reasoning?
I think Monsters University has a little more personality. There's you dive more into fun monster characters, and it's just a cool take. You don't get many prequel Pixar movies, and you kind of see.
I believe it's the only one.
Yeah, I think so.
Off the top of my head, it has to be.
You see Mike and Sully, meeting each other, and I think it's a great story. And I think it just has more of a personality than I would look for in a Pixar movie.
I definitely get that. The college setting is more charming than the setting of a factory.
Yes.
And one thing also about the Monsters Inc. is almost all of it is set in the factory. There isn't a lot of variety in place. Like you go to their apartment, but you don't go many other places in this monster world where the possibilities are endless.
They do send them.
Well, the door place.
Yeah, the tundra.
Yes, the tundra. There's in the Himalayas.
I don't mean to say I think Monsters Inc. is a really good movie. I'm not taking anything away from it. I think I would just prefer Monsters University.
What do you have Monsters Inc. on the box?
Well, that's a good question. Let me check.
Because it's a 5 for me. I think that's a top tier Pixar. I think Monsters U is maybe a rung below that. I still think it's a great movie. It's just more about Pixar's track record at this point than what is actually great or not.
I rated this when I first got the letterbox. I was just kind of like rapid fire.
Oh, when they just give you a bunch of movies.
I gave it a 3.5. I don't think it's 3.5. I think it's like a 4.5. That's not my rating. That 3.5 isn't true. Let me see what I gave Monsters Inc. Or you.
Monsters. I think I have them at
I gave Monsters U a 4.5.
I get it. Yeah.
I think it's hilarious.
You could definitely argue it's funnier.
Yeah.
Uzma Kappa is amazing.
Yep.
And the tournament thing. I love any movie with a tournament.
Yes. Yeah. Great. That was great.
Yeah. Billy Madison, Goblet of Fire, Monsters U. That's my favorite subgenre right there.
Do I think Monsters Inc. has a little more depth with...
It's more emotional, probably.
Yeah, more emotional. It's hits some more deeper themes. Yes. But I have so much more fun watching Monsters U.
Okay. I kind of feel maybe an odd comparison, but I think the first Home Alone is better than the second Home Alone. But I'd probably rather watch the second one. I just have more fun watching the second one.
There's a distinction between your favorite movie and what you prefer and what you think is better.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think Whiplash is better than La La Land, but I prefer La La Land. That could have been on. That could have been on here, I guess.
No, I don't think that's too hot.
No, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Especially amongst the Chazelle heads.
Yeah.
They love all his films. So I'll hit you with a hot take now. I think No Country for Old Men sucks. I don't get this movie. I love the Coen brothers. I think this movie it's just so stale and dull start to finish to me. I don't care about any characters. I don't care about this plot. And they always talk about Javier Bardem's Anton, the bad guy. And people are like, oh, he's scary and this. He's just there to me. He just goes and kills some people. He's not threatening to me. I don't get this movie.
I understand. I agree with a lot of these points. I do think Anton Sugar, I think he calls him Sugar as a joke.
Okay.
I think he's pretty menacing, but he does fall a little flat for me. But the point of the movie apparently is it's kind of like a troll movie where it doesn't give you like the final shootout. It kind of goes against it breaks the mold a little bit, so to speak.
Oh, breaks the mold, does it now?
Yes, it does.
One of my favorite songs. But the Coen brothers did that with a movie called Burn After Reading. and
Oh
which is
yes, you said this in one of
yeah,
the other episodes.
yeah, it's a troll movie, and it's a comedy though, so you have fun along the way to nothing. This is a movie where you don't have any fun on the way to nothing.
Yeah, there was some. It wasn't as suspenseful as I thought it would be. Because I hear such good things about the villain.
Mm.
It does fall a little flat for me. I gave it 3.5 on Letterboxd. You gave it a 2,
Like a 2, I think.
maybe.
I don't like it.
I liked it a little more than you did. Do I think it's great? I think it's good. If I watched it again, maybe I can go a little higher. I can give it a 4.
Mm-hmm.
I understand your side. I understand what the people's side is,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm kind of in the middle for you.
Were you also confused when Woody Harrelson showed up?
Yes, he was pointless as hell.
And like, he's obviously done dramas, but still in such a
He's done
hardcore
sports
drama.
movies.
Yes. So Woody Harrelson was on the Yankees broadcast last night,
Yes.
sitting next to Michael Kay, and they asked him, like, Woody Harrelson's always very high.
Yeah.
And they asked him, like, oh, what sports did you play growing up? You play baseball? And he went, yeah.
I played sports.
I played sports.
Oh, that's what he said. I play sports.
And he couldn't help but react to the game. So he'd be in the middle of like a long story, and then there'd be a bloop single and go like, oh, wow. And then he wouldn't go back to his story.
Yeah, well,
Shout out to Woody Harrelson. Everybody loves
shout
Woody
out.
Harrelson.
Shout out.
But yeah, I have no reason why he was in No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, I don't
At
know.
all.
He was in the trailer when I watched it, like, in HBO Max. It's on HBO Max. That's where I watched it.
Oh, okay.
You can click like the trailer. So I watched it, and I'm like, oh, Woody Harrelson's in it. And it seems like an important.
He's not
character.
in it much at all.
He's in it for like maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah. He has that one scene where he's at the desk where he, like, I think he puts his feet up or something, but that's about it.
I do like the fact that, I mean, this is kind of like why I love Infinity War so much, where the villain wins. So I'll give it that.
Okay, I definitely understand that. Yeah.
It breaks the mold.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta break the mold.
And, you
And I
gotta let
agree
'em
with
know.
that. In my opinion, it just fell flat here for me. I understand why a lot of people really dig it. I don't get why people think it's amazing, though. It's just, maybe it's just not for me.
All right.
Yeah. It's not, maturing is realizing you don't hate things. It's just not for you.
Yes. I would say There Will Be Blood should have won Best Picture over this.
Yeah, I agree with that, even though I'm not a huge There Will Be Blood guy. I think it's really good, but I mean, it's certainly better than this, in my opinion, at least. So, all right, what else do you got?
I got a movie that, for some reason, used to be loved. Like, just general consensus was it was a great movie. Now people are going on the record saying it's highly overrated, and I just don't agree. I think it's been good.
Give me a hint what this movie is.
It's a Nolan movie.
Nolan movie. All right, keep going.
I just don't understand. It's the most underrated, overrated movie, I would say.
Okay.
To the point where, like, it's not like people are saying it's overrated. I do not think it's overrated. I think it's worth the watch. It's a 5 in my Letterboxd, and that's Interstellar.
Oh, Interstellar. Yeah, you love Interstellar.
1, sucker for space movies. 2,
and it has the best space visuals in
yes,
a movie I've ever seen.
One of the greatest visuals in a movie I've ever seen. And it's a super cool story. I mean, it's Nolan. I mean, it's, confusing and content dense.
It might be his most intricate story.
Yeah.
But you can actually follow it. Tenet was hard to follow while being very intricate.
I haven't seen that, but
I really like it. That's another movie that I think people hate on maybe a little too much, Tenet. But I do really, really like Interstellar, not as much as you. People who, like, hate on it hard, I really don't understand that.
Yeah, people say, like, it's a mediocre sci-fi movie. I just don't think that. It's more than a sci-fi movie, first of all.
Just by
a lot of
looking
family
at it,
themes and stuff.
Just visually and how the themes the story gets into.
Yeah.
Him and his daughter, the idea of not, what is it called, time dilation? Is that the term they use in the movie? I can't remember, because it's not necessarily
Something like
time
that,
travel.
I forget.
But in just the finale with the bookcase, it's all fascinating stuff. And I really like it when I watch a movie like that and I don't fully understand it and I have to think about it. That's one thing I really like about Nolan.
That's a movie where you'll turn it off and, like, you'll still be thinking about it, like, the next day.
Yeah. I like a movie like that where you have to watch it a couple times to really be like, okay, I think I know what happened.
I think the ending is what, like, really set it over the top for me, where I'm like, I can't believe they went in this direction, when he goes into, like, that dimension or whatever, and you find out that he's the ghost.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think that, like, blew my head off.
Yeah.
The scene where he watches the videos after going on to I forget what the planet was called, but, when time was, like, sped up for them. Like,
Oh yeah,
whatever.
yeah, and because they come back on the ship, and the guy's been there 50 years. Or
Yeah,
whatever
and then he
it's been.
watches the videos, and Murph, his daughter, never sends a video, and then she finally sends one, and she's like, and she said like, today's my birthday, and I'm as old as you were when you left me, and he's like crying, watching all the videos.
That's like an acting masterclass.
An
by McConaughey.
amazing scene, an amazing acting performance. I don't see the hate. I can never see the hate. This could very well be on my top 4 favorite films on Letterboxd. I'm debating on it. I still am.
I also love the ending when he goes to when Murph is an old woman.
Yeah.
And they just have that moment, and he isn't like, I'm gonna stay or whatever.
Yeah.
He goes. It's like he came back. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And then he's gone.
Yeah.
I really like that. And
I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now.
It ends with him going to get Anne Hathaway, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So technically there is room for sequel, but Nolan obviously isn't like a sequel guy. It isn't, and it's a sci-fi movie, but not like a sequel sci-fi. I still would love if they, just with the world they created and the effort put into it,
Yeah.
I think you could do something cool with it.
All right. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs a sequel, but I can see your point.
Yeah. So I actually also have a Nolan hot take.
Go ahead.
I think The Prestige is the best Christopher Nolan movie.
Oh, I should have had that on my hot takes because I think it's one of the worst.
This movie blows my mind every time I watch it.
I don't think that's a hot take though. I think a lot of people
like it.
More middle ground they think it is.
Yeah, a lot of people say more middle ground. Even people who think like, oh, it's really, really good. Nobody puts it at the top of their Nolan list. I don't think.
Okay. It's at my bottom below. I mean, it's above Dunkirk, but it's second to last for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think it's the best one, easily, in my opinion. I mean, start to finish, it's so well put together. And there's like 40 time jumps in the movie, and you can still follow it. And all the performances, and all the characters, like Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, they aren't like, I don't know, they're both developed enough. And it's just a fascinating, fascinating idea of these two dueling magicians in the 1800s. And the twist every time, I mean, the multiple twists and turns that the movie takes always blows my mind. I think this is the best movie he's done.
Yeah, I think I see where you're coming from. I don't disagree with you on those points. I just it falls flat for me. That's really what it comes down to. I think it's like super boring. And I was a little confused, and I don't really get confused during Nolan movies.
I can understand why you thought it was like a bit of a drudge.
Yeah.
Through it.
And I was super excited because Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman. And, I mean, Michael Caine's in every Christopher Nolan
ScarJo's
movie,
in it.
But yeah, ScarJo. I mean, there were some cool twists, but nothing blew my mind.
Everything blew my
I'm
mind.
like, this is just a movie about magicians. It's kind of weird. I don't know. It wasn't for me.
Okay. David Bowie's in it too.
Oh yes.
David Bowie plays Nikola Tesla. And
yes.
I showed this movie to my mom, and my mom to this day refers it to as the David Bowie magician movie. And I said it has Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale in it, two of the biggest movie stars of our time. But she calls it.
I agree with her. I think that would be the biggest imprint in my mind.
Okay, that's
even though
fair.
I forgot about it.
And his assistant's Andy Serkis as well.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But no, I love the movie to death. I can't get enough of this movie.
I should probably rewatch it. I'm probably
it takes a couple watches.
Probably being a little unfair.
Especially if you were still confused a bit at the end.
Yeah.
It could use another watch.
But I don't want to rewatch it.
Okay.
So
that's a fair point, because there are some movies that you're not crazy about, but you want to rewatch. Because there's more here. But then there's some movies you don't want to rewatch. You're like, I don't feel like solving this puzzle.
Like I'm willing to give No Country for Old Men another try, but The Prestige.
This was my second try for No Country of Old Men.
I think I gave The Prestige a 4, but I think it's good. I just don't think it's as good as people say it is.
Okay. But one thing about Nolan is sometimes it takes multiple watches. Like Interstellar, on my second or third watch, I thought much more of it than my first watch, because I was able to put everything together much more easily.
Yeah, my first watch I gave it a 4.5. My second watch I gave it a 5.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's hard to give a first time 5.
Yeah. I think the only thing that has done that since I got Letterboxd was Banshees.
Yeah, I remember I saw that flash up.
I could have very well given Inglourious Basterds. I just watched that this weekend for the first time. I could have very well given that a 5, but I'll give that a rewatch.
That might have been a first watch 5 for me. I can't remember when I watched it, though.
I might have to.
My most recent first watch try was Mitchell's vs. the Machines.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which also it doesn't happen a lot, because it takes a couple watches. But what's your next hot take you got there?
Let me pull her up. I want to. How many you got on there?
I got like some of them are quick hitters.
Okay.
I got maybe like 8 or 9 though.
All right, then I'm.
Not all of them are gonna like turn into conversations.
You ever seen the movie Rango?
No, I have not. I've heard people say it's amazing though.
Yeah, I think it's very overlooked.
Okay.
You know, I think it's I think one of the best animated films of all time.
Really? Wow.
And animation is cinema.
Animation is cinema.
And I think, going on to speaking of the conversation of the best animated films of all time, I'll just go. I mean, Rango blows me away it's a kids movie, but it's not a kids movie. So many great themes. A great character arc in Rango.
Okay.
Really cool setting, even though it's in the desert and it's kind of like grayed out and like dry. It's the desert, but but it plays it well. It plays it as a Western, and it's really good.
Okay.
Anyways,
I know that that's one of those movies where they had them like physically act out the voice performances.
Yeah. And Johnny Depp is riddled
He's good
in
in
the character of Rango. You can tell that this is Johnny Depp's one of.
He does a lot of different voices, so I'm curious what it sounds like.
He's very much. I don't know how to put it. I don't know where I'm going with this, but he's very much himself.
Okay.
Where he just does such a good job.
Okay. Well, he is a character himself, so
yes,
that's interesting enough.
But speaking of great animated movies, I think one that should be less in the conversation.
Less in the conversation.
I mean, still good.
Okay.
I mean, none of these takes I'm saying are terrible. Like these aren't terrible movies. If I'm saying that
these
things
are a bit overrated.
Yes.
You just think that's all.
Spider-Verse.
Okay, yeah, I definitely understand that one. I mean, I think I first watched it and gave it a 4.5. I think it's great, but when people talk about how it's like, oh, one of the best superhero movies ever made, like I think it's great, but I think Spider-Man 2, I think No Way Home, I think maybe the other two Tom Hollands are better than this movie.
I can't stand behind when people say this is like the best Spider-Man movie. I don't know.
I think it's great. It's obviously very ambitious, and they pulled it off.
I mean,
the impressive idea, but still, sometimes it's a little. I don't know. Some things felt rushed to me, especially like when Aunt May had all the suits just like in like the shed, and they went down there, and there was that secret layer, and I don't know. All the different personas were cool, but it didn't click with me like it clicked with a lot of other people. I still think it's great. I gave it like a 4 or 4.
Yeah, I mean,
but still,
it's the animation in and of itself is something to behold. I mean,
the first time I watched, I've told you this before. The first time I watched it, I watched like about 30 minutes of it, and I went upstairs and I told my brother, I'm not going to be able to watch this thing. My eyes are burning. The animation is like literally hurting me. And he said, just settle into it. You'll be fine. And then I did, and I was fine. Yeah. And the animation is amazing. Sometimes a little too much, though.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
It gets a little overwhelming.
Yeah, a little too frantic and quick. And you miss a lot of little things, a lot of nice little touches. But still, it can almost be sensory overload with a movie like this.
Yeah, I mean, animation's great. Miles' character is great. His character arc is great.
Yeah. What are they? That's Leap of Faith, they say.
Yeah, Leap of Faith.
See, all that stuff was great.
What's his name? Jake Johnson, right? Jake Johnson.
Yeah,
he's great.
Peter B. Parker, yeah.
And the world is fun. I'm listening great things, but I don't.
Nick Cage, John Mulaney.
Really, it's really fun.
Spider-Gwen is good.
It's a lot of fucking fun, but
that's what we view it as. It's a fun movie.
When it comes down to it, it's the story. The overall story is not groundbreaking whatsoever.
And like Kingpin's good. Is he that special a villain to me though? No. Like I think it's
they
fine.
could have fleshed him out a little more.
And they have they have Dr. Octopus in it for like a brief moment.
Yeah.
And then his uncle is what's this called? The
Prowler.
The Prowler, yeah. And like all things that were just kind of there and good. Overall, the antagonists didn't lead up to or match how good I felt all the protagonists were. Because I liked all the different spider people.
All right.
But I think your movie, I don't agree with a lot of people say the movie's only as good as your villain. I don't necessarily agree with that.
No.
But I think in this movie, Kingpin kind of takes away from it when I look at some other movies. Like, if we're strictly, some people say it's the best Spider-Man movie. I look at No Way Home and I say, no, Green Goblin's better. I look at Spider-Man 2 and say, no, Doc Ock is better. So I can understand where you're going with this. Because especially when this movie came out, people fell in love with it. Yeah. And people still put it at like this high echelon.
Yeah.
And I think it's great, but I don't put it up there.
Yeah.
All right, I got a couple classic movies that I just think ain't that good.
All right.
Singing in the Rain bored me.
I haven't seen it. I've been meaning to watch it though.
The
After watching Babylon.
well-crafted songs. They're good singers, good performers. Lots of great dancing in it, especially the long one takes where they have to nail it. A lot of impressive stuff. I just don't care about the story. I don't care about these characters, and I need that when I get into a musical. I'm not so much a musical person where the songs are enough.
Okay, fair.
So that one didn't really hit me. And I think Casablanca is also just fine. I think it's okay. It's a real drudge for me to get through that movie, and I've had to watch it multiple times for class. And
I don't really agree with that.
you think it's better?
I think it was just there's so many lines that are just like said in everyday life from the movie. People don't
Yeah, I
even
guess.
realize it.
Yeah.
Which I think it's just too iconic to not
It's iconic, yes.
give it up. I mean,
And I don't think it's a bad movie.
I thought
think
it was-
it's good.
I thought it was really entertaining. You know, I thought it was pretty interesting. Do I think it's like the most entertaining in the world? No. But for what it was, you know, I don't watch a lot of black and white movies except for, I don't know, It's a Wonderful Life. I thought it was good. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I think it's fine, and it just maybe it was overhyped for me because I know that like that's the kind of movie that I would love or that like I should love, that era, that kind of plot, and I was really looking forward to getting into it and liking it, and then the pieces just never came together for me. All the pieces are there, I think, for a great movie, but again, they just didn't click for me for whatever reason
Alright.
that was.
I can see people not liking it. I personally did enjoy it.
Mm. Do you got any more?
Oh shit!
Let me see what else
Oh,
I can
Aaron
say.
Judge stole a home run from Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, good for him.
Okay. Here's one that I know this is a genre that you particularly like. I particularly hate.
What genre is it?
Um,
I think
it
I
is
know it is.
horror.
Horror, yeah.
And I think that horror is the most bloated genre out of every genre.
Okay, define.
There is just way too many just seeing trailers, and I'll go to the movies one day and there'll just be a random just horror movie just on there.
Okay.
Although I think like I'll give it credit, like I think making a good horror movie is
Incredibly
pretty
challenging.
yes, 'cause,
Yeah.
you know, you have to write the right mood and you have to craft scariness.
Yeah, it's the same as comedy. You have to make everyone have an involuntary physical
Yeah.
reaction. Incredibly difficult to do.
Yes, I just think it's way too the industry is a little too bloated right now.
I can definitely understand where you're coming from. Horror movies are very cheap to make. That's why they make a lot of
Yeah,
them.
okay.
And it's another one of those genres that, especially when you make it PG-13, a lot of teens and tweens like to go to horror movies. So that's why I think Smile was a big hit because of that. The Pope's Exorcist, this movie that's just come out.
Oh, isn't
it's
that
getting
with Russell Crowe?
Yeah, it's getting a lot of heat behind it. And these movies typically aren't that expensive to make. So I understand why there's a lot of them. I definitely agree with your sentiment that sometimes it's overbearing when you just see horror trailer.
Yeah.
And sometimes,
Especially because I have to close my eyes when they come on for the coming attractions.
my mom still says when like we're watching TV and a horror trailer comes on, she goes, "Close your eyes," because she doesn't want us to get scared.
I can't watch. I hate horror movies. I hate them.
They get to you.
Oh yeah.
Okay. But no, I know what you mean though. I understand the complaint that you wish you saw a trailer for a screwball comedy or an animated film instead of another horror movie being pushed to the forefront.
Yeah.
Because a lot of great stuff flies under the radar, but you always hear about a lot of horror crap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes a lot of
There's
sense.
just some random M. Night Shyamalan movie coming out, and just like
Yeah.
everyone's saying, "Yeah, I went to go see it. Yeah, it sucks again, like all of his stuff."
Don't go after M. Night like that.
Well, make some better stuff. Then.
Okay. I actually do have a horror thought related. A few, actually. I think Friday the 13th as a franchise is overrated. It was one of those movies that like got
Never
hot.
seen a single.
The first one was like super popular because it was a summer camp movie and it gave people the willies. And another kind of like teen movie, hey, bring your date, get scared together, that kind of movie. But as a franchise to have 10, 13 of them or whatever it is, that's a bloated franchise in and of itself from an idea that just wasn't that good. I don't think Jason's like that fascinating a character. Whereas on the other hand, it's not an anti-slasher thing. I love Halloween. I think Michael Myers is fantastic. I think even Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger is quite good. Friday the 13th, I never got it.
This reminds me of a hot take that just came in my head.
Hit me with it.
I think Halloween underwhelmed me to the max.
It might be the best horror movie ever made. I gotta be honest with
It
you.
almost reminds me of No Country for Old Men.
Okay.
With how you think of No Country
How
for
I
Old
view it,
Men.
yes.
Yeah, it
Okay.
fell incredibly flat where I'm like, where it ended, I go, that's it? Like, really nothing happened.
Oh, I get chills at the end of that movie.
I don't know. It wasn't for me.
Okay. But again, you're not a horror guy.
I'm not a horror guy. It didn't scare me.
But I mean,
I was interested in it. It says something when I'm interested in watching a horror movie.
Yes.
Where I'm like, all right, I'll give Halloween a try, and I watched it this past October or Halloween for the first time. And yeah, it was. I'm like, this is what people are raving about. Like, this wasn't really much for me.
And like you said, you weren't scared by it.
No.
There are horror movies I watch that I think are good and I like, but I'm not necessarily scared by them. Like the 2017
do you
wasn't scary, but I really like that movie.
Do you think having to be scared watching a horror movie, do you think that's necessary for a good horror movie?
Yeah, more or less. It helps. Unless you're so good in other ways.
Or like eerily creepy. Like I think The Shining isn't
Yeah.
scary. I think it's like super creepy.
No, you're not horrified at any moment really in The Shining. You're just creeped out and it builds and builds and builds throughout the entire movie. And that's why that might be, you could argue that's the greatest horror movie of all time. Because
I think it's the
whole
highest rated
time-
horror movie I have on there.
Oh, that's a 5-star for me. Yeah.
I think I didn't give it I think I give it like a 4 or something just because it's a horror
Wow.
movie.
Because that's a movie that just gets completely under your skin. It isn't like big kill, big scare.
Yeah.
So, how many more you got?
I got one more, but like I said, like
let me do some quick hitters here. You ever seen Hereditary?
What do you think?
No?
No.
Oh, that's right, it's a horror movie. I thought it sucked.
People say it's People say it's one of the scariest.
Hereditary
movies.
and Midsommar are made by the same guy. I don't have anything
Yes,
against
he also
this guy.
He did just make a Beau is Afraid.
Oh, I heard about that.
I
That
heard
was
it's
the same
terrible.
Dude? Oh, okay. That's how I feel about his first 2 movies. I don't have anything against this guy. I do not like his movies. Both of them were so boring to me. And that's the one thing I don't want out of a horror movie. At least give me some excitement. And I think Hereditary tried to like get under your skin, completely failed. I was bored the whole time. And Midsommar was just a drag. The characters were not likable. The characters were stupid. And it just kind of ends where you don't understand how we really got to this point, and you're not remotely you don't have to be horrified, but you're not even remotely creeped out by how we got here. It's just weird stuff happening more than like, oh, scary stuff happening. So I don't get either of those movies really. Yeah. And I mean, I'm a horror guy too. I want to really like them. And you know the Ryan Gosling movie Drive?
I haven't seen it, but I'm meaning to watch it.
Film bros really like it.
Yeah, I heard a lot about that.
I think it's meh.
Okay.
I think it's meh.
All
like
right.
it's fine.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because when I was looking at it, I'm like, it's huge on Film Bro, but when I like watched, just looking at the trailer, I was like, this looks okay. It looks good. It doesn't look like as good as people say it is, but Aaron Judge is a 2-run home run.
I wish we were live streaming this.
I mean, I can't say a word about it. I mean, it's a Ryan Gosling movie, so I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
Also, Bryan Cranston's in it.
I believe he is.
Yes,
I think he's a mechanic in it. I don't think Ryan Gosling says 100 words in the movie. He's a lot of staring acting from Ryan Gosling in this one,
That could be.
it can
good.
work. Yeah, it works for who his character is.
It worked for Mandalorian season 1.
Yeah, season 1 it worked. Yeah, not so much season 3. But all right. So my other hot takes. We agree with this one. We don't think Knives Out is that good.
Oh no.
It was a very frustrating movie for me to watch because, again, a genre I love, murder mystery, and it was filmed in Massachusetts. I'm from Rhode Island. A cast I like. I like a lot of these actors, especially Chris Evans.
Can I ask? Do you have to
What?
mention when something is filmed near you every time?
There ain't much. There ain't much.
I don't know because you say it almost like all the time.
There ain't a lot.
All right.
Yeah. So it's worth bringing up, but it gives me that. It's also that atmosphere that I know. It has a more New Englandy atmosphere. Is also so it means a little something to me for that.
Yeah.
Not just because it was actually physically filmed near me.
What were we talking about again?
Knives Out. Yeah. It was frustrating because I love that genre, and they changed the rules of like what happened. So they allowed themselves to do whatever they wanted 3/4 through the movie, which I
Yeah.
found incredibly frustrating. And I didn't find any of the characters that interesting aside from Chris Evans, really. I mean, I think everybody gives good performances.
I don't know.
But
Chris Evans'
nobody-
character kind of
nobody
pissed me
pops.
off.
Oh, okay, so we didn't like it for different reasons,
Yeah.
though. What was your main problem with it when you were watching it?
My main problem, it was a little predictable.
That too. Yeah.
I mean, it was so obvious it was him. Like the moment he gets on screen.
And they say, like, when they're recounting the party that happened that night, they show, like, Chris Evans, like, oh, they said, oh, he stormed out, like, after 15 minutes or whatever. And it's like, well, now I think it's him. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, if he's the first suspect, that means it's somebody else. Yeah. But then it just ended up being him.
Like, I think, yeah, exactly. It kind of makes you think, you know, this guy's too obvious.
Yeah. Which, it's not how it should work.
I do think Glass Onion's mystery is a little less predictable.
Okay, interesting.
Although I think Knives Out is better than Glass Onion.
Okay. I should say I like Chris Evans' character, but also Daniel Craig is amazing in this movie.
Oh yes, I think he's probably steals the show.
Oh yeah.
In both movies. Yeah, you know, it was just another movie where I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Most of these takes, I'm like, it's a fine movie.
Yeah. It's that's what Knives Out was for me. I'd probably border on bad, honestly. I had some significant problems with it, and I just didn't enjoy it. It was too long. Yeah, I could not get into Knives Out for the life of me.
Yeah, I didn't like the style of. I mean, Knives Out isn't as fresh in my mind as Glass Onion, but like I didn't like the style of, you know, movie making that Glass Onion was. I don't know.
Okay.
The style of the story, the style of the character. You know.
Oh yeah, that one didn't hit for either of us. I don't think Akira was that good either.
You're talking about the
anime.
I think it's good. I think it's good.
I watched it not too long ago. It's just it throws way too much at you at once. I think it's fine.
How many anime movies have you seen though?
2, 3.
What are they?
Akira, Spirited Away, and Tokyo Godfathers.
Okay, Spirited Away throws a lot at you, but it's a amazing world building.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah,
Spirited Away is fantastic.
Every scene is just interesting to look at in Spirited Away.
But I think because like I feel like anime movies, anime in general throws so much at you.
Yeah.
I think Akira or Akira, whatever you call it.
Oh.
I don't remember.
I just remember dude screaming Tetsuo 700 times.
Oh yeah, I have actually T-shirt.
Is it
of like of a panel from the original manga, I guess.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Actually.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Stylish.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's good.
Granted, I'm not an anime guy. There's a lot of people who would be like, it's almost like a genre you have to be like into to enjoy anything in it, and it didn't click.
I don't think so.
Those other two movies did click for me though. So
I don't think so because when you're looking at, the anime shows, you definitely got to be into it. But the movies themselves, like
more accessible, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Spirited Away or Akira.
Yes.
Spirited
Away. Neighbor Totoro.
I haven't seen
that one either.
My Neighbor Totoro or something like that. Yeah. Any of the Studio Ghibli movies are highly accessible.
All right, hit me with your last one.
All right, I think this one.
I think I only got one more, really.
This one might be a little thought-provoking.
No.
I would rather watch a really good TV show over a really good movie.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. A really good TV show can give you hours of enjoyment.
Yeah, I think,
and a lot. You could argue it's easier to rewatch a TV show.
True.
Depends on the person, but no, that makes a lot of sense to me.
I just they have like tens of hours to flesh out characters and character arcs and plots. Like I'm talking like when I say really good show, I mean like a Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Wire,
the best stuff ever.
Barry, cinematic TV shows. I'm not talking like sitcom. I mean,
One Tree Hill.
I mean, I don't even think if you gave the writer of One Tree Hill a Marvel Multiverse movie, they would knock it out of the park.
Oh my God, they would. The complexities of One Tree Hill fascinate me. I cannot comprehend how the writers could comprehend the plot lines and interwoven character arcs of One Tree Hill.
A true work of art.
That's a very good point. If you handed them a multiverse movie, it would be so easy for them.
They would be the first to get it right.
They'd write it in a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also feel like watching a show isn't as much of a commitment as a movie. Well, I think in the long run, it's more of definitely a commitment. Yeah. But watching an episode, like I just want to watch something. Let me put on an episode of The Sopranos. I'd rather put on that, even though it's like an hour, which is like a small movie.
Mm.
I would rather put on that than like an actual movie because I feel like if I put on a movie, I have to watch the whole 2.5 hours.
Yeah. And I think we also have a feeling of movies are still made for like one sitting.
Yeah.
And cinematic episodes are made for one sitting, certainly.
Yeah.
But just as people, we're conditioned that we're able to turn off the TV whenever we want.
Mm-hmm.
When we go to the movies, we have to watch it. So we feel like we have to sit there for the full 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, like if I'm sitting, like say in bed on my iPad, I'm like I want to watch something. I don't really want to watch a show. I got to pick a movie, but then it's almost like I'm checking the runtime. Like, can I really watch this right now? You know, and also like getting into certain movies. Like say I'm like I have to be really in the mood and really like my brain needs to be fresh to get into like a Nolan movie.
Yeah,
you know.
Whereas a TV show, it's like
it's a little easier to digest.
Yeah, if you know what you want already, you're like, okay, I know what I'm getting if I watch 3 episodes of the show.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm getting if I watch this hour-and-a-half movie over here, though.
And like watching, I mean, it's there's always the joke like I'll have people will say like I have a hard time watching a 2.5 hour movie, but I'll binge watch like 6 hours of TV.
Yeah,
but like it's like checkpoints, you know.
Can stop whenever you want.
After 45 minutes to an hour. You're like, do I stop? No, let me watch a little more because they hook you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just think really well done TV is like the best thing.
Yeah. And I think Barry especially, I think it was the first 2 seasons, were crafted like that, where practically every episode ended on, you could call it a cliffhanger, but all 8 of them felt like a movie put together because they all just strung together so perfectly.
Yeah.
No episode came to an end and you were like, oh, that was a great episode. Similar to Stranger Things. They're written like 8-hour movies more than episodic journeys.
Yes.
Like I couldn't tell you a great Stranger Things episode aside from finales because it's all just one piece of work more than individual bits, which I think both are admirable if you do them well.
Yeah,
that is a thought-provoking point, Mikey.
Thank you.
My last one I have in class last year. I had to watch Pride and Prejudice from 2005. It ain't that good, in my opinion. I think it's a decent story, but you just don't understand why either of these people really like each other. Especially Mr. Darcy just seems like the most unappealing, like leading man I've ever seen in a movie.
I don't know a blessed thing about this. So you're gonna have to talk to.
You never heard about Pride and Prejudice?
I've heard of it.
Oh, okay.
My sister loves both the book and the movie. She's huge on this thing.
A lot of people love it. That's why I think it's kind of a hot take that I just didn't. Yeah. I didn't get it.
I've never seen it. I've never read it. I can't say much. All I can say is I would never even want to touch it.
I mean, when I watched it, it just seemed like a kind of crappy version of Little Women.
Okay.
Crappy might be strong, but just not near what I wanted it to be. The book was written before Little Woman, I believe. So Little Woman.
Yes, I think the book is pretty old.
Yeah. So, but in terms of just this movie I watched, this story was not done as well as multiple Little Woman movies that I've seen. Pride and Prejudice didn't do it for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there remakes of this movie?
I think there's multiple Pride and Prejudices. Yeah.
Okay. You're talking about like the
there was one
the main one that everyone knows about.
The one from 2005. A lot of people know about. It's got Keira Knightley in it. I believe is who's in it. She was the girl in Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one.
Oh.
That's Keira Knightley. Yeah. And she was the double for Natalie Portman in Phantom Menace. She was like the fake princess that they would put the makeup on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was her. But yeah.
Oh,
that's my last hot take.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I never knew that.
So that's my last hot take. You got anything else or no?
Speaking of Phantom Menace, I think Phantom Menace is overhated.
I'm not a prequels guy. However, I will say I might rather watch Phantom Menace than either of the other two because I think it's the least CGI. It feels more like a movie with sets, where the other two feel a lot like video games. To me, at least.
All right, I can understand. I mean, I think episode 3 is really good. I mean, it's
definitely the better one.
That's another hot take. I think it's a little overrated.
Some people who put
people say it's their best Star Wars movie.
We could go into Star Wars rabbit hole here, but
yeah, I know. We're trying to close.
People who put Revenge of the Sith in the category with the originals absolutely baffles me.
Yeah,
because I'm an original guy. I like the sequels more than the prequels personally, but
yeah. Oh, you like the sequels over the prequels?
I do. Yes. Because the prequels do more for the lore. I agree. And it's more cohesive as a trilogy, and it does more for the original trilogy. I agree with all those points. if I'm gonna sit down and watch a movie, I would rather watch the sequels because I can actually sit down and enjoy them.
But isn't that heavily CGI? You're kind of going against your point here.
The sequels have good CGI.
Okay. Also, again, don't want to fall down the rabbit hole, but I think
We can keep going.
I think Rogue One is the best movie after the originals.
I can understand that. Yeah, I can. Personally, I would take Last Jedi and Force Awakens above it probably, but I definitely get your point. Rogue One is pretty
Wait,
sick.
we didn't talk about Last Jedi.
I had it on the list, but I didn't want to start the Star Wars thing. But now that we're here,
Okay.
we both like The Last Jedi.
Yes.
Freshman year, it was a dark and stormy night. We started talking about Star Wars,
Yeah.
and Mikey said he wasn't a big fan of The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I kind of fell in the pack of Last Jedi.
The majority,
sucked.
the majority. I'll be honest with you. The
Honestly,
majority of people.
and I didn't have a concrete reasoning. It's just I was kind of going with the wave.
Mm.
And then young Ryan came in.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and then I started telling him why I thought Last Jedi was the fourth best Star Wars movie, which is how I view it. I think it's the best movie outside of the original trilogy, and I converted you.
And he made such a good point that it converted me. So Ryan, give me those points. Give them those points.
Okay.
Points.
I'm trying to remember what I said to you.
I don't remember.
I believe I like The Last Jedi because
Great cinematography.
beautiful cinematography. Everything with Rey and Kylo, personally throughout all three movies, works. All that stuff still tracks.
Yes.
People say it's not cohesive all the way through. The Rey and Kylo
No, I
storyline,
think yes.
all the way through, all of that works. And his sacrifice at the end. They
Mm-hmm.
kissed at the end. That was a little weird, but everything's
I
rough.
don't know why people are freaking out about that though.
it was just Ewy a little bit, I guess.
It was a little Disney.
Yeah,
It was a little
that's
too
fair.
Disney. Star Wars was showing their Disney that
Yeah.
day.
But Last Jedi I liked because it felt radically different. And a lot of people hated it because of that, because they thought they were subverting expectations just for the sake of it. However, it all worked for me.
I
Because
remember
all this talk about like who erased parents. And then when Luke said your parents were nobodies, I was like, "Oh, this is what I want. I don't want Star Wars. Everyone is related. Everything leads to something. Everybody has a purpose."
They relied
No.
too much on attachment
Yes.
to what they've previously done. And I remember you saying once, speaking of Luke,
I love Luke in this
people were
movie.
so pissed about his character, Hermit Luke,
Yeah,
and you said it made sense.
it made sense.
And I totally agree after you said that.
Because people were like, Luke turns his back on the galaxy? This isn't the Luke I know. It's been 40 years. He's been through something. Can you understand that he went through some stuff and this is what happened? People were like, Luke would never turn his lightsaber on a child. It's like, well, if he saw darkness in him, maybe he would. And Luke regretted it immediately after he ignited the lightsaber. So I think everything with Luke in this movie, for what they built up and told you happened from the previous in-between movies, makes sense. It's not like it happened during the arc of the movie that he was hopeful and then he was this hermit guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all the stuff with Luke, the Luke and Rey back and forth is awesome. And it's also I love the explanations of the Force in it, too. All the conversations he has with Rey, and when Rey has the different visions, I think it's more abstract about the Force than just like, you can do this or you can do that.
The dyad.
Yes. And it has a phenomenal scene with Yoda.
With the sacred text.
The sacred text, yes. But I also felt, and one of the biggest complaints that people had was that the Rose and Finn sequence in Canto Bight in the casino.
They said that didn't feel like Star Wars. I thought it did.
I rewatched the movie not too long ago, and I was thinking about like, okay, this is the scene people like kind of pointed out as why they didn't like it a lot of times, and I watched it and I was like, this is fun
Because
I like this.
Their argument was it didn't feel like Star Wars, but
Which it did.
it makes no sense because Star Wars, it's a whole galaxy. Like,
Yeah.
there's going to be more places with different personalities.
They go to a bar,
And there was,
in the prequels.
it
They
was
go
like
to a '50s diner with Dexter
it was
Jetson.
it was like a more fledged out cantina scene.
Yes, more like if you can believe there's a dive bar like the Cantina, you can believe there's an upscale casino
Yeah,
like Canto Bight.
Yeah, I mean,
It's awesome.
the scene where she's like releasing like the tauntauns or whatever.
Oh, whatever. I don't remember what.
I
they
think
were called.
Rose sucked. Though
I mean, I think a lot of times she was just kind of there.
they wrote her really badly.
Yeah, all that.
I mean, I
could've
feel
been better.
bad for the actress of what happened to her, but
Yeah, she went through so much shit that she didn't deserve.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought she was quite good in the movie, especially considering what she was given
yes,
to do.
yes.
She did everything she was told. But Benicio del Toro's DJ never really hit with me.
No,
Again, just he was there. The stutter was a weird acting choice, but
I thought it was kind of cool.
the ending though I thought was incredible. The Luke Kylo moment at the end where
Yeah.
he wasn't even there, and Luke using all his energy is what kills him basically.
Hmm.
I mean, the finality of that was amazing. I mean, and I'll agree. I won't defend it in the sense that it doesn't fit within a trilogy. Because I finished the movie and I said, that felt like part 2 of 4 or part 2 of 5, not part 2 of 3. This isn't leading us into a big finish in the next movie. So, which is why I think Rise of Skywalker was in the precarious position of having to wrap it up without the proper setup to wrap it up. But I still love Last Jedi.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the only Star Wars movie where one lightsaber doesn't hit another lightsaber.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
How about that? Talk about subverting expectations. And I think for the better.
Yeah, and I think it had some cool exploration to the Force rather than Jedi.
Yeah, better than midichlorians.
Yeah.
That stupid stuff like that. So those are our hot movie takes. And, I just thought of one more hot take I have.
Oh,
I think the Brinx and Hearse podcast is the greatest podcast of all time.
I don't think that's a hot take though.
That's a freezing cold take, in fact.
Yeah.
Excluding everyone else in the world, except us two. So, this has been the Brinx and Hearse podcast, the greatest podcast in the world. My name has been Ryan McNeill.
Michael Frieri.
And we wish you a Heidi